While adding your own theme variables into configuration works great, sometimes you just need a custom value for probably one-time usage. For example, this cake emoji that you see here is too small, and the largest available text size utility is only text 9XL. I might want a font size of 14 rem or something for this. It doesn't make sense to add a custom value into the configuration just for this. At the same time, we don't want to use inline styles because then we will not be able to make it responsive. So, what if I want 14 rem here without adding it in the configuration? I can still use the text utilities, but instead of picking a value from here, I can add square brackets and give whatever value here, like let's say 14 rem. And refresh the page. This works just like that. The best part is we can even make this responsive. So let's say I want text 10 rem, and at ND screen size I want text 14 rem. So this works too. If I refresh, this is 10 rem, yeah, and at this screen size it's 14 rem. This is amazing. This is how you can add arbitrary values for any utility class in Tailwind CSS. Notice that you have to specify the units though. You can use rem or pixels, that's up to you, but this value has to be exactly the same as you would provide in regular CSS. Let's look at more use cases for arbitrary values. Now here's a button, follow on Insta, for which it would be nice to add an Instagram brand color instead of chocolate. We can do that with arbitrary values too, because that color is not our brand color, so it doesn't make sense to add in the theme. We can replace this chocolate here with arbitrary value. So let's pick the Instagram yellow color, which is #F9CE34, and let's see. Yep, this works great. Of course, it doesn't look like Instagram color, so instead of a plain yellow, let's use the gradient that Instagram uses from yellow via pink to purple. Can do that. So let me remove this entirely and say BG linear to BR from, I will add this color here, so F9CE34 via pink, which is again a code that is #EE to A7B. Another arbitrary value to the purple, I guess, of Instagram, which is 622 #622 8B7. Okay, let's see what we get. We will have to refresh the page, and there you go. You get a button that looks very close to Instagram. So we were able to add our own colors also without even leaving the HTML. This is cool. But what if we want to add a CSS value that contains a space in it? We cannot use space in class names, right? So let's look at a use case for that. Now, it would be nice to have this text on the left and this button on the right using a grid layout. So let's turn this into a grid layout. But we know that in Tailwind, you can only have equal width columns, right? We don't want to have this button as big as this particular text. Earlier in a video, we used inline styles and we used grid template columns, 1FR, auto, and things like that. So here as well, you can use grid calls and specify the value that you need for grid template columns CSS property. So the value that we would like is 1FR auto. 1FR for this text because we would like it to occupy as much space as possible, and auto for this button because we need it auto size. But you can't just do this. Tailwind will think this is one class and this another, because that's how class names work. So what can we do for values which have spaces in it? We can replace it with underscore, and later Tailwind will make sure that this is replaced with a space. So now if you refresh, yep, you have it in a grid layout, and like we mentioned, the text occupies one fraction and the button auto. Of course, we need a gap, and also we need items center. We don't want it stretching. We can say items center, let's say gap of 6. Now that's perfect. So you see how powerful arbitrary values are? But be really careful not to litter your entire HTML with these. Spare them for only one-off values or values that don't really belong in the theme.